Here we are again. I'm starting to call this, or I'm thinking about this hour as therapy hour, where I have like 3 to 5 people on these lives. And the reason I'm calling it therapy hour is because during the daytime or during like peak times of my channel, I get on here and I might start trying to finish a thought, and there's so many different comments in here, and I try to read as many of everybody's comments as I can that it takes me off the topic. But during this time, there's not usually a lot of people, so I'm able to just completely run through the entire thing that I was thinking. And I've had this weird sleep schedule over the past maybe 2 months at this point, where I fall asleep super early, especially if there's no show or no anything that I'm watching that night. I've been falling asleep at 8 o'clock, 8:30, and that's not normal for me. I usually fall asleep 10, like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning type thing. But I've been falling asleep 7, sometimes 8 o'clock p.m., and then waking up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. No rhyme or reason for it. Just, I don't know, my sleep cycle goes into weird pockets. It's probably going to change again at some point, but for right now, that's what it is. So here we go. Hey, no sleep crew. Mon Ed. So earlier today, I started to make a video that was supposed to be about a specific topic, and then I kind of veered into talking about how I felt about my interview with John and Beth. This is going to be halfway about that topic that I had originally, and halfway about the interview that I had with John and Beth. I already expressed my thoughts on the John and Beth interview on my membership tab, my membership page. For those who have memberships, you were able to go see that. Just a more generic version of it for here is that I'm appreciative of the opportunity that they gave me. We mostly focused on, we had a mental health focus, and sometimes I think to myself, I would love to honestly sit here and talk about mental health all day. I would. I struggle with sitting and talking about mental health, not because I have a problem doing that. I mean, man, yesterday I had some experiences with a couple of my clients that made me feel like this is what keeps me in this job, despite the fact that 75-80% of the time I could be dealing with some clients that are just really nasty and ungrateful, and like ungrateful management that treats me bad. But then 20% of the time I get these really nice and really grateful clients who are just, I don't know, like this last person that I had seen at the end of my day. I remember the condition she was in when I met her, and it's not that I would say that I'm solely responsible for where she is now, because I am definitely not. I mean, she has, from the time I met her in the psych ward, she has since, consistently attended her therapy once a week. She goes to a psychiatrist. She has found different tools and coping tools to help her with the things that she has going on mentally. And she attributed a lot of where she is now to the work that I have put in with her, which again, I think that I'm a small part of that, but it was such an amazing feeling to actually see this person that was in the space that she was in, because that's the reason why I got into the field that I got into in the first place. Because I can still remember 12 years ago when I was at the lowest point of my life, when I had to quit my job and humble myself and move back in with my parents because I couldn't cope with the things that I had going on, and I just had no will to live at that point in time. Like, I was really just like, I wish I could just go to bed and not wake up type thing. And sometimes I go and I see these people and I forget where I was. And because I get so wrapped up in all this BS that's happening with the work and the requirements and, Mark, why aren't you doing enough of this and that, and the politics and the office politics and the drama, that I'm not even really, it takes away my empathy and it turns into apathy, where I'm just like, I feel like I'm just going through the day-to-day, just trying to get by and go through the day, and people are telling me really hard parts of their life, and I'm just like, well, I got to go write my note and get myself to my next client. But once in a while, I have a moment like what I had yesterday with that client, where I'm like, even if nobody thanks me most of the time, and even if nobody credits me for the things that I'm doing, it doesn't mean that I'm not helping people. I think that sometimes I have to, in absence of receiving that external praise, just kind of pat myself on the back sometimes and be like, you know that these people's lives that you are coming to see and you're calling, checking up on, and running to the hospital, like, some of them don't even have their family in their life. Like, their family is alive, their family is around, but their family doesn't want to deal with them. So I remember this one guy, he goes into the hospital like, I want to say twice a month, and I'm there faithfully in that hospital with him 2 times a month. And I remember I came in there one day, and I know his medical like the back of my hand. I know the things he's allergic to. I know the medications that he takes. And I came in there, and he was talking to some nurse, and I was answering all these questions for him. The nurse thought I was his emergency contact. She was like, "Is this your son?" It's like, no. He said, he's my case manager, but none of my family is here, and he's always here, so he might as well be. So I say I digress, because that was a roundabout thing to say. But if I didn't say hi, Charicity, already, I think I did, but hi if I did not say that. That's a crazy schedule. Mine's always crazy. Someone broke his circadian rhythm. Been there, done that. No sleep crew. Slept during Frisky Dingo. Whatever that is. I don't know what Frisky Dingo is. It settled. We for the new no sleep crew. It's nice not to be alone. You aren't alone in these scary hours. That's so awesome. You made a big difference in her life. It's way more than a small part. Going through that, it means much. The scary hours. You should be proud of what you do. I have at least one person a night ask me why it's dark. Okay, so at about 4:30 something p.m. in New York City, the sun sets, which creates darkness outside. And I'm in a vehicle, and you can't put on the lights in the car while you're driving. So, therefore, it's dark. Any other questions? You're here for them when nobody else is. I have a tattoo of a starfish because of the starfish story. No, I don't know the starfish story. I would like to know the starfish story because I'd probably add it to my story bank, which you should know by now. I have a story bank. When somebody gives me a story that has some kind of value to it, I repeat it, such as the story of the $20 bill, where there was this motivational speaker that went to the front of a room and he was speaking to this crowd, and he said to the crowd, "Who wants $20? Everybody's hand goes up in the air. They all wanted $20. Who doesn't want a free $20, right? So then he said, what if I threw that $20 on the ground and I stepped on it? Threw it on the ground, he stepped on it. Everybody's hand was still in the air. Who wants it now? The hand was still in the air. He's like, what if I ripped it in half? What if I did this? What if I did that? Like, just went through different things that he could do to that $20. Anything short of pretty much, obviously ripping it up to the point where you can't put it back together. But you rip it in half, you can tape the bill back together and somebody is going to take it. And everybody basically wanted that $20, no matter what you did with the $20. Why did they want the $20? Because no matter what you do to the $20, it still has the same value. You take it into the store, it doesn't matter where that $20 was. It doesn't matter, you jumped on it, stepped on it, ripped it. As long as it's able to be put back together, you can hand it to some cashier and it's going to pay for $20 worth of goods or service, whatever it is that you happen to get. But then with us, we feel like our value is tarnished or taken down when different things happen to us. If we experience trauma, or if we make a mistake, or if we lose something, we feel like our value goes down because we feel like our value is based on our ability to be spotless and the ability to I'm not an ability, that's not even what I'm trying to say, but just we think that we lose value basically every time we go through some kind of hardship or loss or trauma, when really our value should be inherent. The same thing. If we're beat down, if we're stepped on, if we're torn apart, whatever the case is, our value is still our value no matter what. And I would argue that we become even more valuable because of these experiences. Listen, throw away everything that I always say about not earning enough money, because that's very true for me. I consider it very true that I don't earn enough money. But there's another side of the coin of that, where my family always told me not to talk about my problems because people were going to use them against me, and people were going to judge, and people were going to criticize me, and they just didn't encourage me to share when I had things going on. But for the past 11 years, I've literally been paid for that. Yeah, it says very early. Hi, George. Have you been there before? If not, welcome to my channel. appreciate you for stopping by. Make your own life no matter what. You don't have to look it up. I'll look it up. Some places won't accept them, some places will, but it doesn't change the story. Matter of fact, I had this Canadian money. I must have taken it out of my car. But for some weird reason, I was trying to exchange the money because my grandma gave me that money. My aunt gave me that money, as a matter of fact, not my grandma. But my aunt gave me the money when I was in Canada last month. And I went to an exchange place to exchange the money. They were taking a hard look at it, and it was because somebody had snipped a little piece of the corner of the bill. And they said because of that snipped piece on the corner, they're not going to take the bill. So I was like, oh goodness. So at this point, I'm probably going to wait until I go back to Canada, whenever that is, and either try to give it into a store or probably just try to put it into my Canadian bank account. And hopefully the machine takes it. Because it sucks when that happens, when you go into the store and they don't take your bill. Resilience isn't celebrated as it should be. I agree 1,000%. Your light comes on the hill, believe me, when you come second. They do that on reality TV. It's like you're ranked by those that they feel more. They do what on reality TV, Ed? Without the struggle, money ain't ish. That's true. You know, I feel like anything that is difficult to get is worth more when you get it. I feel like easy come, easy go. If you get it quickly and if you get it easily, you're not going to value it the same. And you might be more likely to lose it versus if you worked for it and you know the feeling of not having it. And I know the feeling of grind. I know the feeling of feeling like I'm working for nothing, literally. Because I'm sitting here like, I'm not getting ahead, but I'm working so hard. It's a tough place to be, but I stay optimistic, and I just tell myself that one day this is going to be just a part of my story where I'm like, I spent so much time trying to figure things out, and now I have figured it out. It's also why I have started to say, you know what, it's time for me to start making more investments in myself. Like, for an example, this Kara interview that I'm talking about is an investment. Because like I said, Kara was trying to give me some options. Actually, to tell you guys the truth, Kara was trying to give me some options to do that interview for me for free. And obviously, I would love to get that thing done for free, but the free options that she gave me were based upon her timeline and her schedule and her location, which I'm not trying to wait. That's the reason why I was like, thank you so much for the offer. You know, I appreciate that, because again, y'all might not know, but she's somebody who doesn't really do things for free. I mean, I'm not saying that I know everything she does, but I'm just saying in general, there are people from these shows that you can just reach out to and say, hey, I would like an interview. Boom, boom. As long as I have the time, they're like, as long as I have the time, let's schedule a time, and we're gonna. The reason she offered me that was not because that's just generally what she does for the fandom. It's because I built a rapport with her through these couple of meetings and these interactions that we've had. Okay, now it's not dark. For the people that don't want to watch videos because they're dark, the car is no longer moving and I'm not driving, so I can look at these comments and you can see me for a little bit because I'm going to be off here in a little bit. George is passionate. New York City is great anyways, so it always feels like it's always dark. I'm drunk. Johnny Walker, double black label. And then you stumbled upon my page. You celebrating George. Smooth is smooth, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Never quit. In the US, you can't take it to the bank. Yeah, you can take it to the bank, but it's probably going to be the same thing where they're going to examine it and see that little snipped corner and be like, we don't take that. Working for something, you're more invested. I think she does. She was like, "You're my new favorite," even though she could say that to 100 fans. But I think she means it because we've had some conversations. Good old drunk Drunkle George. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so there was times in my life where that same $300 for that interview, I would be like, no way. Granted, I did tell y'all, those who are members on my page, about that person who told me that they would charge me $550 to show up to my watch party if I had had the watch party. And I was like, I will make the investment, but I have to feel like there's a return on investment. And in this case, I'm not paying $300 just to talk to Kara. I'm paying that $300 because Kara has a fan base. I mean, it's cool to be able to talk to somebody you're a fan of, but I'm not willing to pay. Like, I'll pay for a cameo. Sure, I will pay for a cameo, like for a special occasion like I've done. But to have a conversation with them, not really. Unless the conversation was catered towards business and it was more affordable than that. But yeah, I consider that an investment because I'm like, I put that out. It's something I can add to my resume. This is during a season that she's on. Who I don't know if she's going to be on season 41 or the next time she's going to be back, All Stars, whatever. I don't know what she's doing from here, but I know that the timing is aligned that I feel like that interview could do really good for my page. And now I've kind of learned a little bit about cross promotion on TikTok because the challenge is particularly popular on TikTok for some reason. So I'm going to be, when that gets done, which is looking like first week of January or so. She told me first week of January is when she has a little bit of time. All I need is the time that it takes to do the interview. So, yeah, it's gonna be cool. And then also tonight is Tori's event, and honestly, you guys might not think of it this way, but me going to these show events are also investments because I pay for a ticket. Sometimes people are like, oh, you're so lucky you get to see this person, meet the Survivor cast, and speak to this Big Brother cat. Listen, they don't give me free tickets. I pay to get in. let's see here. Oh, I guess Drunkle. I guess Drunkle had a little bit too much to drink. Bye, Drunkle. I'm sorry. I enjoyed you for a little bit, but you're doing too much at this point. Yeah, the double was a lot. And two people that I didn't want to see go went, but I had to appreciate the blind side on Andy. Well, even though I was not happy that he was gone, I had to appreciate that. I had to have some appreciation for that. I'm not popular on TikTok, but I have realized that my challenge videos that I have been putting up lately have been, for the most part, the most viewed videos that I have on there, because I was putting up other stuff and they were getting, fair amount of views, but the challenge stuff has been getting a pretty good amount. And I wish I had really been utilizing TikTok, especially when I had done my Sam interview, because that's where she's at. That's where she's most popular. And I was promoting that interview on Instagram, where she's fairly popular on Instagram. I mean, when I say fairly popular, I think she has 200,000 subscribers, but she uses TikTok way more than Instagram, and she has a more active fan base there. And that's where she became popular in the first place. So if I had been taking that interview and clipping it over there, I think that it would have got more views, because I think it was a great interview that did not get enough views. I think that a lot of my interviews, as a matter of fact, have been really great, and they have just not, I haven't promoted them enough. So when I get my hands on this next interview, first of all, let me tell you something. When you don't do something for a very long time, and it's something that is like passion in your soul, and you just don't do it for a long time, I feel like the next opportunity that I get is going to be magical. That's what I feel about this Cara interview. She doesn't know that. For her, this is just, this is just something on her schedule. If I booked her, I booked her. If I don't, I don't. Somebody else is going to. If somebody else doesn't book her, she's traveling, she's doing her photography, she's doing the challenge, whatever she's going to do. In my case, I see every one of these as an opportunity to do something that I love doing, and a chance to get new eyes on my content and to propel my page. That's the way that I'm viewing it. And I'm just really, really, really gonna be locked in for this particular interview. I think it's gonna be a good one. And I think it's gonna be an even better one. One thing y'all don't know or might not realize, my best interviews, I feel personally, are with people that I have gotten the chance to meet before I interview them. Because I've had some interviews where I just reached out to them online. I send them a DM, send them an email, whatever it is, and we communicate back and forth. We set up the interview, and then I get into the interview, but I don't know them. So really, I'm just asking them show questions. What happened with this? What happened with this alliance? What did you think during this moment of the game? What was happening here? Like all the questions that everyone else asked them. But you get a chance to actually communicate with somebody, talk to them in person, and then communicate DMs and stuff like that before you do the interview. It makes for an opportunity for better questions, and that was the case for Sam. That was the case for Hannah, and that was the case for who else? Sam and Hannah. Who else did I meet before I interviewed them? Did I meet anyone else before I interviewed them? It might have just been those two. Shuby. I met Shuby before. The meeting was a little odd. Nice guy, but odd meeting. Still F Andy. He did overplay his hand. And then I still don't know Survivor that well. But one thing I do know is don't tell somebody you're voting out beforehand. Oh, I just got to tell you, my best move in this game is to get rid of you. Like, don't do that. And then also, if you're going to have a conversation about somebody, and have you heard of whispering? I don't know. I don't know what you think about whispering, but whispering should be a thing. Goodness, these people are stupid. I really feel like I want to go to that Survivor finale party next week. I really want to go. This is such an interesting cast. I honestly, to tell you the truth, Charity, I don't like TikTok. I only made a TikTok because and like I'm trying to cross promote. That's the only reason I made a TikTok. If when they're like, oh, TikTok will be banned in next year, if it was banned, oh well, I would just not have a TikTok. It's never been my thing, but I'm like, if this is what the people are into, so they consider YouTube long form, and long form isn't popular anymore. And basically, that just means there's not a lot of people who sit here, especially if you're not a celebrity or something, and watch somebody sit here and speak for an hour or 2 hours like I do. They like these little 1 2 minute snippets so they can just quickly get the content summarized for them. Like some people, there's communities of people for Survivor or Big Brother or The Challenge or all these shows that we watch that don't even actually watch the episodes. They go to TikTok because people will post 1 to 2 minute clips of the most relevant parts of the episode, and that's all they need. For me, I'm like, I'm not gonna get what I need in 5 minutes. Even though there might be parts of the episode where I'm like, this part I could do without, but still, all in all, I like context. I like to see things in full. Wes, no, I didn't. I didn't meet Wes, but I did communicate with Wes for a year before I did the interview, so it's kind of the same deal in a way. Like it's not quite the same as meeting somebody, but it's the same concept of what I'm talking about. We spoke about a lot of different things over the course of a year. And then, so when I interviewed him, I had a little better knowledge and understanding of him than if I just interviewed a complete stranger. Plus, then he said, "Since you're going to jury, here's my pitch on my game and why I should win." Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy. Rachel had I said this in our Discord. I'm like, Rachel had the composure of a serial killer. And I say that with peace and love. Because I'm like, imagine sitting there. I don't know how many hours that was, but I know the tribal council is at night. And I know that she heard that conversation like the night before. And then she was being spoken to all day as if she's for sure going home. So I'm like, wow. For her to sit there and listen to all that with that straight face, knowing that she was about to use her idol, like, I don't know how she did it. That's not my main thing either, but I always support, so I'll What do you mean that's not your main thing? What's not your main thing? That's actually true. Was there anybody else that I'm trying to think. Oh, this psychologist that I met, but that was not a highly viewed interview, but there was a psychologist that worked on the TV show Summer House and actually gave a couple of people, excuse me, she gave a couple of people therapy on camera. Her name was Carrie Moore. That was one of them. I interviewed my life coach, who I never met in person, but we did Zoom calls together for 3 months or so. I think that's it. I think everyone else that I had gotten an interview from, see, I had not spoken to or met beforehand. So those ones are just more blind, but particularly I think Sam's and Hannah and Turner. That's the other one. Sam, Hannah, and Turner. I knew there was at least three. Sam, Hannah, and Turner, and you could count Wes in that category because. So with the Sam interview, even though I met her once prior to the interview, I still didn't know her. And like I just met her, she agreed to the interview, we set it up. It was some months later. And I think I've told this story. I mean, I know I've told this story before, but when I went to go meet Sam in the morning, the videographer wasn't there. So the videographer was like, "Oh, I'm running late. I'm running 45 minutes late." And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, 45. Like, if she had said 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I would have been like, "Okay, it happens. Traffic, parking. I know how New York is." Here's the reason why 45 minutes gave me so much anxiety. It gave me so much anxiety because it's not me that's the problem. I can sit there and wait for 45 minutes. I have no idea what Sam's schedule is like. Like, she could have separated this 1 hour block for me to be there from 11 to 12, and she could have been like, at 12 o'clock, I have to bounce. And if that videographer shows up 11:45, she could have been like, I only have 15 minutes, and then I have to bounce. And I couldn't have even been mad at her because it's kind of my fault. It's not my fault because I did book the videographer, and give her a deposit, and we signed a contract, and she was supposed to be there on time. So that it's not really my fault, but you know what I mean. I would consider it as my fault because my production person did not get there on time. Sam got there on time, so I couldn't blame her if she had to leave. So I felt so much anxiety, but the interview actually ended up turning out way better. When I tell you I was so prepared with my questions, I was so prepared with every single question that I had. Overly prepared. I never prepared so much for an interview in my life. And if you saw the paper and then you saw the things that I said when we did the interview, at least 30 to 40% of what I said was things that I thought of because of the conversation that we had right before. So I remember I was sitting with her in that coffee shop, and I looked at my phone and she saw my face, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And because apparently I must have looked like somebody shot my dog or something. And I was like, "Oh, the videographer said that she's going to be here 45 minutes late. I'm so sorry." She was like, "Don't worry about that." She said, "I'm here for you. I'm going to be here until this interview is complete. Whatever time she gets here is whatever time she gets here. I'm not in a rush. Let's just sit down and chat." And I was like, really? She said, yeah. So my anxiety went way down from that, just from that, because I felt a lot of anxiety over that situation and just about the interview in general, because I had never done an in-person interview with any of these people. So as we were sitting there, this like rah 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 person that I saw on the show that was so loud and like aggressive, that's what I was expecting to see in that coffee shop. But she was actually a very low key and subdued. And we had a conversation that was practically like an interview way before the camera person got there. So we were just talking about different things. So we started talking about a couple of show things. And then I said, you know what? I don't want to talk to you about the show because I don't want to change course of this interview because I'm practically asking you some of my interview questions right now. She said, oh, no, that's fine. So then we just started talking about different things, different life things. And I remember talking to her about some things. Like, for instance, I had just run a half marathon. It was the only one I ever did. But I had just finished running the half marathon. Sorry, I'm still stuffy. I had just finished running my half marathon, and boy, to even get out there to do that interview in the city, I had to take 800 milligrams of Motrin just to be able to walk and get on the subway, and it was a lot. I was in pain during that whole interview. That little scene that we did at the beginning when I was walking over to her and acting like I was a catfish, we had to retape that scene about 6, 7, 8 times. And just that walking from the door over to her was hard. It was so hard. But anyways, I was telling her about my half marathon. She was like, "That's cool." I was showing her the picture. I was of me crossing the finish line, telling her like that story. I was telling her about the emotions that I felt being that this interview took place about 2 months after losing my dad. She was telling me about losing her grandmother, I think 2 weeks before she went on the circle. And I didn't know that. She had lost one, not the grandmother that was on the show, because that grandmother is still alive, but her maternal grandmother. She had lost her maternal grandmother. Hey, Brian. Right before, um, right before she went on the show. So we were just talking about, experiencing recent losses, and she was giving me some words of encouragement about my dad, and then we were talking about some life things, and then based on that conversation that we had where that videographer was late, I the first I haven't watched that whole interview in its entirety in a while, but I want to say the first 10 to 15 minutes of the interview was impromptu, and I threw in some questions in there about some things that she said to me when we were talking in the coffee shop beforehand. And man, normally when I finish an interview, the only thing I was unhappy about with the interview is that it was heavy, heavy pouring rain, and the audio was impacted by that rain. But aside from that, in terms of like the questions, and there's a few things that I nitpick about because I'm a perfectionist, but just in general, I still think that's my best piece of work that I've ever done. Teeny is so oblivious. So agree. Teeny is extremely oblivious to everything. Yeah, because I feel I respect people's time. Like when somebody books me for something, if it's a speaking event, if it's a photography thing, if it's a music thing, if they tell me it starts at 7, I'm probably going to be there by 6:30. I believe in showing up on time. I didn't know a ton about Discord either, Charicity, and I still don't really know tons about Discord. It's not necessarily my favorite app, but it can do a lot of things. Like people have watch parties on there, voice chats. Um it was a great interview. Mark was a really good interview. Check out some of his older videos. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, my first interview was Ayana, and then John Brennan. Shout out to John Brennan, because y'all will soon, I don't know when, but y'all will soon get to hear my interview on his podcast. And I would appreciate when he posts that. If you have an Instagram, drop a comment when he posts the advertisement on his Instagram. If you check it out on Spotify, I don't know where else they have it, but it's a cool podcast. I hope I came across well in the interview. I don't know, but I got it done. Oh yeah, Ayana, John Brennan. After John Brennan, I can't tell you the order, but I know that I interviewed Hannah Chada. If you watch The Circle season 5, I interviewed Sam, Chaz, and Shubi. Shubi is a Circle legend. Who else? Wes Bergman. I have 2 interviews with Wes Bergman. I'm trying to think. Oh, Alyssa Lopez, Turner. Let's see. I have Big Brother. I've done Big Brother, The Challenge. Let's see. And The Circle. I think those are the only 3 shows. I want to say I've only done those 3 interviews for people from those 3 shows. I've met several others. That's the reason why my mind is foggy, because I've started to feel like I've interviewed people when I haven't. Because even though I didn't interview them, there's certain people who, when I met them in person, we sat down and spoke for like 30, 40 minutes. And I'm like, if only you would get, like, it's so funny. They'll sit there and we'll have a 30 to 40 minute conversation. And if you realize at a fan event, it's rare for a cast member to sit down with a fan and speak to them for like 30, 40 minutes individually. That's happened to me with several cast members, like Izzy being one of them. But then as soon as I say, hey, can we do an interview? Well, about that. And I'm like, but we just talked for half an hour. And you told me a lot of things. What if I just take all those things that you said and put them? Sometimes I feel like being one of those messy internet people who's just like, guess what this person told me? Like, because Izzy told me people that she hates. I did put it on my membership page. Like, Izzy told me people that she thinks are terrible at the game. Like, I've been given information by people that I just hold on to because I care about my integrity as a vlogger. You did great. You're a pro. I appreciate it. I'm rusty. I don't think I have interviewed somebody in 2024. So it's big. It would be huge for me to start out my 2025 interviewing somebody as big in the reality TV world as Kara. To me, that would be real big. She's one of the most popular figures for that show at this time. But you know what? I'm gonna have a different approach to that interview than I had to like the West interview. I'm glad I had the West interview before Kara, and this is why. Because Kara has a number of seasons just like Wes. And with Wes, I made the mistake of being like, I have to review all 20 or whatever of his seasons so that I can come up with questions. And I had so many questions for the guy, and I got to only ask him like 25% of the questions that I prepared, and it took me so long to prepare. So with the Kara interview, I'm not going to watch all 14, 15, 16, however many seasons she's done. I'm not going to watch all of them. I'm just going to ask her a few general questions about her experience in her first however many years it was before she took her break. I'm going to ask her about that section, but I'm only going to have maybe 3 to 5 questions on that entire time period. And then the rest of my questions are going to be catered towards these last two comeback seasons of the Challenge All-Stars 4 and the Challenge 40. The rest of my questions are going to be based on those 2 seasons, and then I'm going to sprinkle in some life and mental health questions because that's what my page is about. Matter of fact, the timing of life is so crazy because 2 years ago, or 2 to 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago. It was last year, but it was early last year, before she was on All Stars 4, and before I even knew that she was going to be coming back. I reached out to Cara Maria, but at that point in time, you couldn't directly talk to Cara Maria because she didn't have a means of fans being able to communicate with her directly like that, unless you get lucky and she responds to one of your DMs or something. So I sent an email to her management team and I asked for an interview. I gave a thing that I give to everybody where I'm like, my name is Mark. I have a page that focuses on the mental health aspects. I'm going to mention this to her now that I just thought about it. I have a page that focuses on the mental health aspects of reality TV. And I would love to have Cara on for an interview. I'm a big fan of hers. Yada, yada. And then I gave some examples of the interviews that I had done so far to that point. 1 second, because I'm very cold. I'm very cold. So once I get in my house, my brain will unfreeze. And I'll be able to finish what I was saying. Okay. Sheesh. Okay, so anyway, I sent that message in to her manager. I said, I'm a fan. I have this page. I think it was on my music and mental health page at that time because I don't think I had this current page that I have right now at that time. And then the manager sent a response, right? I might even pull this up on screen share for her so she can see it. I'm going to find that email. The manager was like, "Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for this message. Unfortunately, Cara Maria is not doing interviews at this time." Matter of fact, I'm going to find that message. This is why I hop on here sometimes at odd hours, because I do my best thinking. And I really just thought of something that I'm going to add to this interview. The manager essentially told me that she was like, "Cara thinks you're a badass." She said, I told Cara about your request, and Cara thinks that you're a badass. But unfortunately, basically, they were saying for the sake of her mental health, she's not doing any challenge interviews. So I was like, I guess it's cool that she said I'm a badass, but she's not doing any challenge interviews. And I think that I had even looked on the internet a little bit, and I was like, this looks like a challenge interview to me, and so does this. Not like there was a lot of them, but I had seen active like challenge interviews that she had done within that time frame. So I was just like, I'm never gonna get this Cara interview. So I just kind of moved on from that. And then I really was not thinking about her anymore because she wasn't on the show, and I just didn't think that was gonna happen. And I've reached out to other people, so it wasn't like I was exclusively like I have to get this Cara interview. That was just something that I thought of because I had some questions for her at that particular time that I thought of that I wanted to ask her. And then all of a sudden, season 39 comes on, and I'm like, oh, cool. She came back as what I don't know what they called it, but like the mercenary type thing. She came on as a mercenary, and then season All Stars 4, she's on All Stars 4, and then next thing you know, I see this advertisement, this random advertisement that says Cara is going to be in New York City as part of a fibroids panel. So I said, let me just go to the panel. And even though I didn't know what it would be like just going to a fibroids event just because I want to see Cara, but I went over there. It was a great time. The panel, I told people going to that panel was better than seeing her at a Challenge Mania event because I would say it's probably about 20 something degrees. I could tell you in a second. It's the wind that really gets me though. Tell you in a second. 29. Yeah, I was right. 29 degrees and windy. So that's cold for me. But anyways, going to that fibroids event turned out to be way better than going to a Challenge Mania event, even though I did go to the Challenge Mania event too. Let me tell you, the fibroids event, $40, I think, 30 something dollars for a ticket, right? The fibroids event was about, let's see, it started at 6 and ended at 7:30. From 7:30 to 8, there was a buffet style meal, and the meal was good. The food was good. right? And when the event ended, there was like a half hour period of time where it just ended and there was a gap between the event and then going into this other event room where they had a DJ and they had a dance floor and they had they had different performers, singers, rappers, different things, instrument. I think there was an instrumentalist. Can't remember, but it was fun. But the point is, before we got into that room, I got a chance to talk to her for a while, and there was no line up for me to go talk to her. There was no anything. I just got to speak to her for a while, and then from there, we went into the other room, and then she told me she wanted me to sign one of those stars that I gave her. And I was walking around, and I was like, nobody has a marker. Like this is a moment that I need to get on my camera. So I walked all over this freaking hotel. I was about to even go buy a marker outside for like a dollar store and get a Sharpie and get someone get her to. I mean, I was signing that thing for her, so uh, I came back and then I was able to sign it and give it to her and stuff, and that was pretty cool. But long story short, in 2023, whenever that email was sent, I'm gonna find it. I was trying to find it just now and I didn't, but I'm gonna find it when I get off of this. And that's gonna be a part of my interview when I interview her. Um, I gave up at that time. I'm like, this is never gonna happen. But it's just proof that you never know what's gonna happen in your life, because who would have thought? I mean, I would never have thought that a year later, I'm sitting here telling you guys that in a matter of probably 2 to 3 weeks, maybe like 3 weeks, now I am gonna have that interview. So she didn't even have this whole um, page that she uses now to let fans book her for those things. That's a new thing that she just started doing when she made her comeback to reality TV. It didn't exist. Like I said, the publicist or manager, whoever that was literally saying she doesn't do these interviews anymore because she's protecting her mental health. That's what I was told. So life is funny like that. The other thing is like this interview with Sam. Yeah, the stars were cool. Shout out to I want to say her name was Karen. It's somebody on my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group called the Challenge All Star Chat, and I made a post in there, and I told them about my idea, because sometimes I can be an idea person, but not the artist. Like a lot of the T-shirt designs that I have, and you see the logos and stuff, I come up with the whole concept. I describe it. I might even try to like somewhat draw it out, and then I will send it to someone, an artist, and have them actually create it for me. But just they're going off of my specifics. So when I said I wanted those stars, I reached out. I mean, I put it on the page. I was like, could somebody make them for me? And somebody was reached out to me and said, you can make them yourself. I was like, you think so? They sent me like a link to a craft store and the stars from the craft store, and then they said you can go to Michael's and then get yourself some gold spray paint and like spray paint it and do it yourself. And I was like, I'll try. And I remember sitting there struggling with this spray can and putting it together and then saying to myself, does this look stupid? Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this looks like some 5-year-old's craft that they made. So I was like, it's a thought that counts. And then when she had that huge reaction to me giving her those stars, I was like, wow, this really actually panned out way better than I thought it would. Let's see. 48 here at 4 a.m. Yeah, we're 29. 46, and that's cold. Come here, then you will understand cold. I was born in Canada, and then when I went to college, I spent 4 years in Michigan. So New York is actually, aside from Georgia that I lived in for about a year, but that was an outlier. New York is probably the warmest place that I have ever lived. Massachusetts was colder, Michigan was colder, Canada was colder. But the funny thing is, it's been so many years removed from those places. Cold is relative. The thing about Michigan, Canada was very cold in the winter time. But the thing about Michigan, I never lived in a place that had that much snow in my life. And since there was so much snow in Michigan, it snowed all the time. It's terrible. Waiting for the sub 20 air temperatures, January, February. Cass Wash is in Wisconsin too. It was like 2 or 3 something. The stars were so cool. Thank you. Tomorrow, I actually have I'm gonna come as what's it called? I'm tired. Carl. I'm gonna come as Carl tomorrow, and I got a different bandana. Last time I had the blue bandana. This time with the red bandana. And where's my aviators? I got a new pair of aviators. They're here somewhere. I got a cool pair of aviators. I hope that I didn't lose them. I don't think I did, but I told Kara, if y'all have been watching season 40, that I'm going to show up to Tori's event as Carl. She was like, send me her reaction. Who knows? Maybe after I do that, I could get an interview with Tori. Who knows? I low-key kind of got my interview with Alyssa Lopez because of my interview with Hannah. Because when I spoke to her, she was aware. Oh, other way around. I kind of got my interview from Hannah because of my interview with Alyssa. But Alyssa was aware of who I was because of my interaction with Hannah. There we go. Side question: how's I don't know about the process right now. Matter of fact, I don't know about the process at all because I was born there, so I was born a Canadian citizen. But for my parents, the process was easier. I wish I knew where these aviators were. They're cool aviators too. One sec. I know at one time the process was pretty easy, but I don't know nowadays. Uh-oh. Sorry, I'm just kind of. It's like it's 5 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock. I'm sorry, and I am gonna be up and out of my house in what 2.5 hours for my first client visit. So I kind of know that when I'm asleep, when I go to sleep at this time, um, when I wake up, I just have just enough time to just hop in the shower real quick and pop out of the house. And I have a lot of things to do because I usually have a little bit of a buffer to be able to finish my stuff after work, but that Tory event is right at 6, which is super early for a Friday. So I know that I'm gonna have to just run straight from work to the event. Oh wow. I had snow my whole life. It doesn't snow too much in New York anymore. Global warming is a real thing. Just keep the nipples in this time. They were in last time. I don't know what they thought this was. Because at the beginning of the event, they were chanting for, who was it? I can't remember who they were chanting "Show us your nipples" to. I can't remember who it was, but I remember Derek did it. Derek was like, "My wife is gonna be mad at me, but oh well." And then he took his shirt off. He's like swinging his shirt, and then yeah, and then I came over there and they're like, "Oh my God, is that Carl? Show us your nipples." I was like, "I'm not part of the show." I don't know what you think this is, but I am not part of the show. You better start throwing some money at me to see me do that. Let him out if it gets you your interview. You bailing, Bry, has crossed my mind. I love Canada, I do. Yeah, Montreal is nice. Montreal is a party city, actually, too. They be partying over there. All right, everybody. This time I'm actually going to try. I had it in my mind that Carl was going to be a character. Like how she made Carl on the show where she was like, ladies, ladies. I still have that clip that I was kind of trying to act out that scene with her and Polly there. I haven't posted it yet, but I'm going to post it soon. But if I get a chance to, I'm gonna be in character a little bit when I meet Tori. I'm gonna be like when I meet Tori again. Tori probably won't even remember me because we literally just had that one interaction when she came last year, and I remember it so clearly because her day that she came over to New York to sell her book and promote her book was my last day at my other job. So I remember I went into the office and that was my last day at the job. And then from there, I went right over to her event, which was not too far down the road from where I was. So now I'm tired. Can't wait to see this. Yeah, it's good. Hopefully it's going to be a fun time. So anyways, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop a comment, make sure the math is mathing. Okay? Good night.